Welcome to the Alchemy Experience podcast, where transformation isn't just talked about, it's lived. I'm Erin, and around here, we're turning breakdowns into breakthroughs, pain into power, and survival into serious thriving. Whether I'm flying solo or vibing with a badass guest, we dive into all the things on health, creating beautiful relationships, and building wealth. We're keeping it real, raw, and ridiculously empowering. It gets a little juicy, a little bit wild, and super inspiring. This isn't just another podcast, it's your permission slip to evolve loud, proud, and on purpose. Let's go light the world on fire.
Recording in progress. Coming at you hot. So, welcome everybody back to the Alchemy Experience podcast. We are launching something near and dear to my heart, and so incredibly excited about what we're embarking on. But I have my girl Des here with me, and we are going to start a whole series called Legacy Leaders. Whoop, whoop.
Woo woo!
So today we're going to get right into it and talk to you guys about what our mission is as just two mamas coming together, two CEO mamas coming together and ready to change the world and leave a lasting impact together and in our own way. And we're going to start to do these episodes regularly and share with you the good, the bad, the ugly of what it looks like behind the scenes of being a leader in as women and leaving our legacy here. So, yay!
It
So,
feels so
Dad,
good.
feels so good. So, why don't you share with the peeps in my world that don't know exactly who you are yet, because they're going to get to know you real well through this podcast and through our new series. And they're going to just adore you and want to be a part of your world even more. But why don't you do the honors of explaining who you are, what you do, and, share with my people?
Yeah, this is so exciting. I love this so much. I love just diving deep into like the cornerstones of things that are so valuable to us. So legacy is something that I just love it so much, just thinking about it, dreaming about it, creating it, leaning in, forming these relationships. So I'm Desiree Cruz. I am the CEO of Merge Worldwide. I own that with my husband, Jesse Cruz. But then through those experiences that we've done where we host live events for entrepreneurs all over the world, I have really gotten the privilege, honestly, to meet such incredible women such as Erin, and to hear her story and her legacy and her dream. And through this mission of Merge Worldwide, we've really wanted to lean into legacy just so intentionally. And it's just become something that I just love and I eat and I breathe. And I just love seeing the mission. I love seeing women just dreaming bigger, wanting to leave legacy and just like do the work that it takes to create this. So I also pivoted. And so I'm the leading author of Warrior Women, which Erin also was a part of that for series 3. And in Warrior Women, we do just that. We lean into our stories and we lean into storytelling and connecting it to business and leaving that legacy behind of what it is, what our story is, and really leaning into the responsibility of the story. And but not only that, but like also knowing and understanding the lessons that we want people to know from the story. So that when you are leaving your legacy and you are leaving things behind, that they're not able to misunderstand what you meant, forget about what it is over the years, like through the stories that you've shared, and forget, have it be gray where they're not really sure, what the lesson was that you wanted them to take away. So in these things, we clearly establish exactly that. And in that, legacy is formed because then you have your story. It's there, it's forever, it can't be misunderstood. It's published, it's black and white, and it clearly says, this is the lessons I want you to know from the story. And that is legacy building. For many, it becomes a responsibility, right? And we really lean into the responsibility of the idea of having that. So the legacy piece of this is so amazing. It just makes my whole heart like explode. And I know it does for Erin too. So that's why her and I, we just have this collective energy where we're really wanting to talk to women and to women who are CEOs of this exact piece of the cornerstone, because we do know that women, one, they want to have more conversations about this, and two, they want to be in more rooms full of people who are having conversations like this, because it sparks something in your inner soul and it makes you come more alive, more energetic, and it allows you to be like that motivation piece of having people helping you and clapping you and surrounding you, like in all ways about you and your legacy for you and your family.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah. And so Desiree and I met, gosh, a few years ago now, really. And it was funny. I was just talking about this the other day, how it was like a rainy day, like pouring rain. I'm in the car trying to pick up my kids, and we had connected on social media, but we're like, let's like have a call. Let's just chat live in real person, or whatever, phone. And so we got on a call together and just were telling each other who we were, just like this, like sharing what we do, who we are. And we found in that conversation and further conversations that we were doing very similar things, um,
Mm.
but in our own way. And what we discovered is it's like, man, we don't have to compete. Like, this is not a competition, right? We both have such a vision of leaving something beautiful behind, for
Yes.
kids, for, our families, for the world to come. And when we realized, wow, we can be so powerful together, because your world, you have amazing humans in your world, I have amazing humans in mine, and now we're sharing them with each other and they're becoming more powerful. It's, I can't even describe it. It is sort of this energy field that you can't, it's undeniable, like you can't make it up when we're both like, oh my God, what if we do this? And the beauty part of it too is when there's days that I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Desiree's there to be like, okay, girl, like, have a minute, but pick yourself up. Let's go. So we've got each other's back in that way too, which has been really great over the last couple years. We've done a lot together. Our families have met. It's like, just become even that, like sharing with our kids how women can come together and
Mhm.
create and build. It's awesome. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, so those of you that have been around in my world and listened to this podcast know that I also have my own business, The Alchemy Experience, where this podcast that has grown from this podcast, where working with women and helping them unbox themselves from these rules and expectations placed on us. And so our missions are very similar, is helping
Hmm.
women really unpack their story of who they were, who they are, and where they're going. And it's not this just linear sort of non-breathing thing. It's become a life force. It's got its own heartbeat. It's become this living and breathing thing. And right before we were getting on this recording, we were saying how it's living energy.
Hmm.
Legacy is just this living energy from those passed down to us, and then we get to decide and discern what parts of it we're going to continue to pass down and what parts of it we're going to let go. Um,
Woo.
so, so that is legacy, right? Like we get to decide in our own way what that means to us. But what's really cool is when you find other people that are aligned, that have similar values, goals, and aspirations, we can really make magic. And that's alchemizing, right? So that is why we are here.
Mm.
And we want to bring this to the world, not just us sharing our stories on stages or in our own platforms, but we want to come together and give a space where we can talk about these things openly, the hard things, the 2 a.m. mornings when, we can't we can't go back to sleep because our mind is either spinning with excitement of ideas or it's paralyzed in fear of the unknown, right? Like all of that. And the most miraculous things that happen when we come together and say, do you believe this? Do you believe these women are having these wins? And sharing that too. So I think it's going to be an amazing journey here on the Legacy Leaders episodes. And
Sure is.
yeah. But Des, let's chat for a few minutes. I know we're really diving into the legacy piece, but what is the for you specifically, what is that core for you? What sort of I know that legacy has been a big part of your life for a while now, but it
Mhm.
hasn't always been on the top of mind, right? So you have two daughters and a husband and a business and amongst other million things that you have going on. But what is the drive, the force that really has pushed you guys in your business and in your life to want to push for legacy?
So there was a couple things that came together, two separate stories that came together as one that was like so clear in our face. It's kind of like, when those moments happen in your life where it's like, man, I missed it once, but then here it is again, and now it's like a punch to the face, right?
You're like, okay, universe, okay, God, I'm getting the yes, got it.
So, so I got hit in the head like twice. And the first story was really both of them are tied to some very much needed motivation from my children, right? And so that's kind of how it works. Talking about legacy and talking about the bloodline, like my kids were the ones that motivated all of this stuff. So for one, for Faith, Faith was my youngest, and I watched her, fight every single day to live. And so in the children's hospital, we sat there, and it was just a terrible, terrible, tragic, environment. It's the worst case scenario as a family, worst case scenario as a mother. You're watching your daughter fight so hard every single day to just breathe. And when she passed, I said, listen, this is either going to be something we drown in or something we rise with. Because there's a lot of people, especially women who have had this happen. Prematurity is like number one for things with infants. There's a lot of families affected from this, and there's a lot of things that come along with this. So statistically, Jesse and I, we just weren't supposed to make it. We just weren't. We had a blended family already, and then with a child loss, we just are statistically not supposed to thrive. And then one day I just said to myself, no, because by not thriving, we're dishonoring her legacy. So I want to honor her legacy. So that was the first hit, right? That was the first hit in the face where it was like, no, how do we keep her story alive? How do we keep her name alive? And how do we thrive as a family? And how do we make this matter? Right? So that was the first hit. The second hit was when I was having a conversation with my oldest. We were sitting around the table, and this is where Warrior Women was birthed, was when we were talking about an author from Canada reading his story to his children. That was my children's book. So it was a very strange circumstance. Out of nowhere, someone from Canada sent a picture of him reading my children's book to his child after his wife passed away. And we're all sitting around the table, and it made me very emotional. I said, we are just sitting here eating dinner, and someone from a different country is texting us a picture of him reading our kid's book to his kid. I said, as young women, you don't understand the impact of that. I said, but someday you will. And that is such a beautiful thing. And I was so proud of that. And that was the final hit for me, Erin. That was the final hit for me. I said, this thing is much bigger than us. Legacy really, really matters. When you really lean into the legacy and the responsibility of legacy, you don't have any idea who is being impacted in a positive way from that lean. And I saw it live, and then I looked over at my daughter and I asked her just a couple questions that were very important for me to understand in our relationship at that time. And she said to me, yeah, Mom, of course I know all of your stories, right? I've listened to you teach me them all my whole childhood. But she said to me that it was too sad. And in that moment, it was really awakening for me, because I was like, man, I did all this work and I've been so real and I've been so authentic and so open to my kids about all the things that I've experienced along the way in hopes to teach them, in hopes to carry out a legacy of some lessons that I wanted them to take from the stories. And honestly, what was happening was opposite. All they were doing was taking the sad pieces of it and kind of holding on to that. And I said, no, honey, I said, this is where we really got to be transparent about how I feel like I failed. Because if that's all you're taking, that you feel bad for me, that's exactly what I don't want. I want you to see the victor side of the story. I want you to see the resiliency of the story. I want you to see the power, the empowerment, the community of the story. And because life always lives, right? Life continues to life for everybody around. And I'd say in 2025, it's been a pretty clear thing in the world that life will continue to life. But yeah, that was like the two hits for me where I said, from this day forward, I have I have young ladies watching me, and they're watching me more than my biggest haters. And I have a responsibility of maintaining an impact that's positive in the world, connected to their lives forever and ever. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that happens, and come up with a different way of doing that. A different way of thinking about legacy, dreaming bigger and creation, and creating a life where we're able to be able to connect these things together and really lean into that responsibility. And I have just continued to get that motivation from that living energy ever since. I mean, it's so deep in me. I continue every single day to get inspired by that living energy, because it's like your why. It's your why. It's like, and it always, for moms, and I know that you would agree, Erin, is for us moms, it is like a living energy that we get from them.
Mhm.
As they're our babies, we are the mothers, the nurturers, the protectors, the leaders in a lot of different ways. And I love showing them that women are legacy leaders.
Mhm.
And not only that, but we also can be best friends and business partners with a lot more legacy leaders.
Mhm.
So that's that for me, for sure.
I love it. It's with your permission, I've shared your story with so many people. And it's interesting because when I first share it, um, a lot of times I have, family and friends, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's been through so much. And I'm like, yeah, but look what she's built from that, right? Like,
Mhm.
so and then I also often say, imagine what you can build if you didn't have those things that kind of knocked you on your ass, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
we need those things as a wake-up call. And, the death and dying piece is always tragic. And
Mhm.
my situation, which I've shared with you and I've shared in series 3 of Warrior Women, which I have been honored to be a part of last year, where I share an experience that I went through where someone had passed away um, in my
Mhm.
world. And it rocked me to my core because it was a woman that I shared an office with that was the same age as me, had 2 kids, were both social workers. And it just was this aha moment like, what are you waiting for in life? What are you waiting
Mhm.
for? Here you are in a basement office with mold, like supervising a crew of amazing humans, but you have this dream in your heart to do something bigger that I didn't even know at the time. I thought it was building a private practice in the mental health space. I didn't realize that it was going to be mentoring other people and supporting women to find their journey and to find their heart and soul and their living legacy, right? So it's been the chain of events that have happened since that moment has been wild to say the least. But those are the pieces, right? When we have such tragic events happen, we can, as you were saying, fall down and say, why is this happening? And it's okay to do that, especially, gosh, losing a child, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Losing anybody, but losing a child is like, that's your legacy, right? So it's like, oof,
Mhm.
it's a cut to the core. And then we can either sit in that space of constantly asking God, why is this happening to me? Or we can say, how is this happening for me? How is this happening for my legacy? Rather than why, and you've been really blessed now, me, to meet other women that have lost children because you're in that unfortunate, group of humans that are tied together that have been through that, who have turned this tragic event into something unbelievably big. And
Mhm.
it's amazing to see. It's amazing to be on the outside and watch it. And then to not have been and not to have known you during it, but now to see what's come from it, right? And so I think one piece that I want to maybe chat with you for a couple minutes, because I think this is real for people when we start to shift into that, I guess, evolution, right? So from you guys, I would say you and your husband being in a space of like, how do we pick ourselves up from this to now
Mhm.
owning this high level company that is touching the lives of so many people in various different ways. Um, I guess share, for me, I know in my process of evolving, I've had to let go of things, including people,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know, um, and I can speak to that, but I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that too, because I think legacy is not just about people pleasing and doing all the things to make sure that our voice is heard and our stories are shared, but it's discerning and it's vetting the people in our world that are going to continue to lift us up and support us. And so maybe share a little bit about how you've done that through this process.
Yeah, there's been a lot of change. And the change is always, it's a journey because it's such an interchange that has to happen.
Mm.
And I'm talking change in every way. I'm talking personal, like I had to personally do a lot of work, a family shift, a family change, right? As a family, we're not even the same family. And then as far as my marriage, right, that was another thing. Like there was a complete shift that had to take place in my marriage as well. But then also like in my relationships that are, my acquaintances, my friends, my family members, right? All of that as well. And then finances is another one that's touched in this, right? You have to think about finances differently, but then mostly mindset.
Mm.
So mindset was like one of the biggest things about this is because we are just primed to as humans to be in our feelings and to be selfish, right? We are innately born to be like that as humans, but when you let go of this idea of I'm independent, I made it, I survived, I can do this all alone, when you get rid of those kinds of mindsets, or you get rid of the mindsets of that costs too much, or that's too expensive, or is it worth it because I'm looking at this and it says it's this, and now I'm not sure if the value is this, and really just that whole broke mindset thing of really diving into and investing into your legacy, that kind of thing. That was a whole journey that I had to reprogram myself of, not and growing up with different pieces of this that you're grown up in, you have to recognize that maybe some of those pieces weren't really great. And maybe I have to change some of these pieces in order for my family to look a little bit different than what my childhood looked like. And not that it's either, good, bad, or indifferent, but we just understand that we're just at a different place in the world. We're at a different place as far as families go. We're at a different place as far as the technology that we can use to create the legacy that we want, right? So there's just different, like there's so many pieces of the work that had to take place behind the scenes. And that included a lot of letting go of those limiting beliefs, really rewiring my mindset. And then I had to really start letting go of things that didn't serve me, you
Mhm.
know, and that's really, if you're on a mission for legacy, um, there's going to be so much noise, so much distraction, so much naysaying, so much envy, so much cheering, clapping. So there's going to be a nice mix. And sometimes it's like, wow, okay. So over here, I have some people cheering and clapping. Over here, I have some people who are envy and jealous. Over here, I got some people who don't understand anything that I'm doing right now and are completely lost with who the person I am, even though if they've known me for 20 years. But with this mission and with the calling and with the legacy and the inner work and all the things, it's like it can't be for nothing, right? And if you're really about it, and if you really are thinking about, generational worth, I'm sorry, generational wealth versus poverty mindset, we have to be able to start deciphering what is serving us and what's not. And that always includes your top relationships. And that's a huge piece that I see a lot of people are missing. And it was very strange for me in the beginning because like I had, friends that I grew up with in high school. I had best friends for, 20 years. I've had family members that had no idea what the mission was or what we were doing and honestly could care less about any of it. But then I also had people who were strangers who loved everything about it and was all in on all of it and became like a new version of a new family that I always needed to get to that next level of who I really wanted to be. So it's really thinking about where you are and then where do you want to be? And
Mhm.
then doing what it takes to kind of get to that space because there's so many things that are going to happen in between, and it's like sometimes it feels like a lot of arrows, along the way about the path. People are just shooting arrows, 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 arrows. I've gotten to a place where I've learned that I have to embrace the arrows. And I know that this is the truth of when we are elevating, those arrows are coming.
Mhm.
And we have to be ready and we have to embrace. And that's why I think it's really important for us to kind of look at like, are you a part of me embracing arrows or are you one flinging the arrows at me?
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's just like you and I, as moms and as business owners and of, having six-figure companies and marriages and actively involved in our kids' lives and volunteering and all the things that you and I are doing because we want to live with abundance. It becomes less and less where I have energy to feed anything that is throwing arrows at me. It's like, man, I'm doing what I can right now to keep this as firm as it can be and to move forward in a direction that I want to take me and my family and my friends and their families, right? Like I want it for you and your family just as bad as I want it for me and mine. Um, so we got to be able to eliminate the people who are slinging arrows. And sometimes that's tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's your own family. And unfortunately, that's the truth. I know it's hard. It's hard to hear that, but sometimes it's the truth. So, um, I think sometimes it's important to really make sure that we're connecting with people who don't have a bias connected to this.
Mhm.
Right. Because, like we were saying earlier, like you didn't know me during all of that. And I feel like that's a great thing because I think sometimes what happens is there's biases that form, whether it be subconsciously or unsubconsciously. Um, Sometimes we just need people who don't know that so that you can appreciate fully, what's in front of you right now with that person. And so it's like hard for people who have known you for 25 years to see this new version of you. They
Yes.
can't put the two together. There's like a huge gap of like not understanding what has happened. And so it's like what I've learned is you either take the time to explain that journey with that person, depending on that relationship and how much it means to you, or the relationship fades. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, that's the truth.
Yeah. I think I've had so many similar experiences with family, friends that I've been friends with for, 3+ decades that I've had to, set hard boundaries with, which is really hard. It is. And so I think you're absolutely right. Connecting with other women that have the same values and that are going the same vision to some degree, and being together and having these raw conversations of like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to handle this, but I'm like in it. And I know I've been through some things in the last couple years where I've reached out to you and kind of saying, man, I've got to let this person go, or I've got to let this part of my business go, or I've got to let this part of this relationship that I've had over here go. And it's so painful. So I think one thing I can share is how, right? How do we do that? Because I think people are looking for that. And we have decided to create a group um, called Legacy Leaders Membership, exclusive membership. And so we are looking for other women, and we're going to continue to have these conversations and share our thoughts, the good, bad, and ugly with things that are going on. But we're also looking for women that want to do life with us in this way, that want to be a part of that high level group that's like, man, this week is shit and it sucks. And I have had a really rough week, but I need my girls to like lift me through that and say, it's okay, this is how we're going to get through it. So part of the how for me has been discerning who those people are, right? And you're speaking to those arrows, and some people that were in my life in, the first half or third of my existence so far, served a purpose. Right. And I served a purpose in their life. And, I look back to, the teenage version of Erin, which that's a whole wild situation. And then the 20s version of Erin, that might even be wilder. But I look back to those versions of me and the people that were in my life then. There are some that are still in my life, but that version has shifted. That relationship has shifted because we are not the same humans. And sometimes what I have found up until this last year is that I've tried to force something that was no longer there. And in at certain times, so I'm going to let you guys know, at certain times I have tried to engage with those people and explain to them like, hey, I'm not this person anymore. And it might sound like, hey, I gotta have like a weird conversation with you because I feel like there's a disconnect, and this is like what I need from you. And what is that weird? Like what's happening? Like why are we disconnected and disjointed? And I've had those conversations and some have gone really, really well. And others, not so much. We've either fizzled out and we see each other here and there and say hi and we're cordial, or we've set some really hard boundaries where there's just no communication at all, because that's what needs to happen in this season of life. And so I recognize how hard this is. I
Mhm.
think when we become moms and we own businesses, there is a duality and a connection there that we need to show up because we've birthed this business just as we've birthed these children. And so there's an energetic component that we're giving to both. And so we have to just realize that it's okay that the people were in our life at one point, maybe they're not there anymore. And that's no longer living in survival, to what you were talking about, is being in this like survival space, right? Your mindset was just, I just got to survive. I just got to
Mhm.
stay. I just got to survive getting the kids to bed and then I can breathe. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I know some of my friends historically that I was close with and family, that's still how they think. Is I
Hmm.
just got to work for the weekend and live on the weekend and then work, right? And that's just no longer my mindset. It's
Hmm.
what can I do to bring abundance to other people that then will ripple back to abundance for me. And so a lot of people aren't going to understand that because they're stuck in survival.
Hmm.
So the how is leaning into the people that are moving out of survival and into thriving. And that is who we are. And we know it. And some people are going to say, well, they're full of themselves or they think they're better. And it's sort of that
Oh
age.
yeah.
Okay, okay, let them, right? So
Yeah.
if they're going to feel that way and they don't want to be a part of this, then you're not ready to
That's
be a part of it, and that's okay. But for
hmm
those of you that are like, man, this is an interesting conversation. I get it. I've been there, and I want to be a part of other women that are like really, truly getting out of surviving and moving into thriving. Keep listening to these episodes. Reach out to Desiree and I. In the show notes, I'm going to put our contact information as far as social media and how to get in contact with us and let us know what you want to hear more about. Next episode, we're going to dive in more to leadership from a position of a CEO mama and how that looks. But, really just sit with for the next week or two this legacy piece and who is it that you want to be and what is the legacy you want to leave behind? And if you're looking for women to help you figure that out and be alongside you and not be stuck in survival and ready to be thriving, we're here for it. So that is that.
Yes, we are legacy leaders. We're excited. We are going to be starting this membership and we are going to be having our final interest call. So I'm excited to share that on Wednesday at 1 o'clock EST. We hope that you join us. If this is something that feels good, it feels in line, it feels like you're needing and wanting to be a part of, we would love to invite you to that interest call. It's going to be our finest one. We are looking for founding members. It's going to be a limited space, and founding members of the group is going to give you access to all things and priority in a lot of things, and almost like a give and take of really helping us help lead this trajectory of legacy leaders. So we want your feedback. We want to know what it is you're looking for as far as these kinds of conversations. And we are calling out to all the women who is listening to this right now. If this is something that you feel like in your heart is speaking to you, please don't wait. Don't let yourself don't talk yourself out of this. Come check us out. Come join us. We would love to have you at 1 o'clock on Wednesday.
Amazing. Well, thanks guys for tuning in to our first episode about legacy. What a good one. I tell you what. And we're gonna continue these conversations and we're gonna let you guys see the behind the scenes of how we do this and how we keep moving even when life is lifing, and then how we celebrate the hell out of the wins together, like a
Mhm.
cruise ship. And so we will be having more combos. So we'll talk to you guys on the next episode. And until then, go light it up, y'all. So we'll see ya.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Alchemy Experience. If this episode lit something up inside you, go ahead and share it with someone who's ready to rise too. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me online on all social media at the Alchemy Experience. Because transformation loves company, and together we all rise. And hey, don't just survive this week. Thrive like you frickin' mean it. Let's go let it up. Talk soon.